I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, read the roll.
Councilman Minichio,
Here.
Councilman Dickerson,
Here.
Councilman Kelly,
Here.
Councilwoman McCracken. Here. Councilman Norton,
Show Norton excused.
Mayor Pro Tem Phillips,
Here.
Mayor Warfield.
Here. Number one, presentations. Presentation of resolution to food distribution workers. Cliff, do we have your group come up here?
You guys, I'd like to bring them up and introduce them. Jerry? I'm Cliff Johnson, the president of Metro Wayne Democrat. Well, these are people that's run a distribution helping the needy people in Wayne since 1983. And this is Jerry Rohrabacher, she's the chairperson of the committee. And Mr. Runyon is helping her, and this is, come on up here, Andy. This is Andy Demetra, he drives the truck and helps unload it, load it, unload it. And this is, what's the gentleman's name? Steve, this is Steve, who lives in Wayne Towers. So our club has been feeding the needy people in Wayne since 1983.
One more
So I want to see
Come on up here.
somebody back to water go back? Come on up there, don't be bashful.
Oh, you didn't know what you want, I break the camera.
No, don't be bashful, just,
I'm not bashful.
So, this is the group, part of the group. I want to say this real quick, like, some of the group that worked for many, many years is deceased or moved away or whatever. And another thing I want to say too, these people did the work, but let me tell you, we had a lot of help when we first started this program in 1983-84 by the Wayne Police Department, the Wayne Fire Department, and many business people in town, such as Local 900 using their hall, the Odd Fellows that use our hall every month, and there's, the newspapers give us support, and we also want to take Cablevision, they give us support, and Jack Denver Ford will give us support, give us a truck and get furnish and gas, all that type of thing. Many people in town have supported us. So I want to say, these people did the work, but we had a lot of other people that helped us make it possible. And I just want to say, introduce these people to you, and I would like to see the audience give a little applause for the job they've all done.
Thank you, Cliff. This is a resolution honoring the Metro Wayne Democratic Club, whereas under the direction of the federal government, the Temporary Emergency Assistance Program was established to aid the low-income, unemployed, senior citizens, and disabled individuals of our nation. Whereas the program is mandated to follow the poverty guidelines set down by the federal government, and whereas the Metro Wayne Democratic Club has adopted and administered the Temporary Emergency Assistance Program within the city of Wayne, and whereas the number of members of the Metro Wayne Democratic Club volunteer many hours to provide this most important and needed program of food distribution, and whereas the members of the Metro Wayne Democratic Club have been involved in this humanitarian endeavor since 1983 on behalf of the citizens of the city of Wayne, therefore be it resolved that the city of Wayne City Council honors the members of the Metro Wayne Democratic Club who distribute this assistance each month, and be it further resolved that the City of Wayne City Council expresses its admiration to the members of the Metro Wayne Democratic Club for the outstanding public service it has provided to the citizens of the City of Wayne since 1983. And be it further resolved this 19th day of May 1992 that this resolution be spread upon the journal of this day's proceeding to endure as a lasting record of respect and appreciation, and that a copy be presented to the Metro Wayne Democratic Club as our expression of gratitude. Kenneth A. Warfield, Mayor. Thank you. The lady'd like to say a few words.
Yeah, I've been running it for 3 years, and I said, I'm real proud of the group that works with me. We all work together. Andy and Leo and I are the only ones that are here tonight that work both days. It is a 2-day program once a month. I particularly want to thank Mr. Zeck, I hope I pronounced that right, for his office, and he have been just fantastic, getting copies for me. As I say, Leo and I work as co-chairman. I do all the book work and he does all the running, and it works so good. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Can we get a couple pictures?
Go get some pictures.
Nice one.
Squeeze it in, squeeze it in.
Right enough, huh?
Ladies down. Can you come up front?
The short guy go in front, huh? That short guy go in front.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Smiles. Oh, very nice. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jerry. Jim's got his bag over there, ready.
The Beautification Committee award presentations to Earth Day poster and essay contest winners. Mr. Jim Galetsky.
I want to welcome all of you winners who are here this evening to view your government in action. And the prizes given by the Beautification Committee are actually authorized by your city council, the people that are right here behind me. And they are all very happy to be able to present to you kids, these prizes and awards. And you have an opportunity tonight to see government in action. And today, the city government is on a platform like this and a long table. But when I was a kid, the city government was non-existent. We had a village at that time, and everybody sat around a big table. And if you kids would like to see that table, it's still available for you to look at. It's in the old City Hall, which is now the Wayne Historical Museum. And these same people make that museum available for you. I'd like to read off the names of the children who are receiving the awards, and then I'll see if I can't shuffle them and get them to the right people. 5th grade for Hoover School, Melissa Fogarty, for room 114, is a 5th grade classroom poster winner. Kim Corona is a 5th grade essay winner and school essay winner. Jennifer LaCroix is a 5th grade classroom poster winner and an overall poster winner. The 3rd grade, Ronna Ferris, 3rd grade poster winner and school poster winner. Gina Werner is 3rd grade essay winner. And 1st grade, Jeff Steinke is a 1st grade poster winner. For Taft School, we have a 5th grade winner is Kim Quinn, is class poster winner and grand prize poster winner. Glenn Thomason is class essay winner and grand prize essay winner. And 5th grade is Heather Boxdale, is class poster and essay winner. And now I wonder if the mayor will come around here and kind of help me. I know that you kids would all like to shake his hand also. Could I shake your hand? Hey, I wonder if you children would come forward now and receive your appropriate prizes. Could you all come up here now? Please. Because I understand that the mayor has got an assistant over here that wants to take your picture. Where's Melissa Fogarty? Is she here? You're here? Okay. And we got oh, okay.
Squash in there
Al
a
wants to
little
get in on that. Okay, all right. I wonder, Mayor, if you wanted to give this to Melissa right here, and you want to take a picture of this one? How about Jennifer LaCroix? Here you are. Okay. Jenny Werner, just hang on here a minute. We're going to take a picture of everybody. Is that you? Okay. Jeff Steinke? There he is. Kelly? Heather Boxendale? Okay. And I've got a few others here. Some of you received a little bit better. Here's Kim Quinn, who receives a plaque from us. Ronna Ferris, that's you, oh my goodness. Kim Corona, there you are. And Glenn Thomason, there we are. Hang on now, we're not done yet. We've got a lot of them. It says this book is given with honor to Ronna Ferris for winning the 1992 Wayne Beautification Committee Earth Day poster and essay contest. You can make a difference. Okay? I've got another one here that says that this book is given with honor to Kim Corona for winning the 1992 Wayne Beautification Committee Earth Day poster and essay contest. You too can make a difference. This book is given to Glenn Thomason for winning the 1992 Wayne Beautification Committee Earth Day poster and essay contest. You too can make a difference. This book is given to Kim Quinn for winning the 1992 Wayne Beautification Committee poster and essay contest. You too can make a difference. I've got two, shall we say, grand prize winners. We decided this year that probably we would like to leave something for the class, and so we are presenting Young Readers Nature Library for the grand prize winners for their school library. These books are dedicated to the Taft Galloway Library in honor of Kim Quinn and Glenn Thomas for winning the Wayne Beautification Committee's 1992 Earth Day poster and essay contest. Can you two kids get together here and take this from me? Just one? How about there's a gal over there who wants to take your picture. Okay? How about that? And these books are dedicated to the Hoover Library in honor of Kim Corona and Ronna Ferris for winning the Wayne Beautification Committee's 1992 Earth Day poster and essay contest. Where are these two gals? You want to... There's somebody over there who wants to take a picture, okay? You want to kind of... Come on up. See that guy over there? Look at him. I think the mayor wants to shake your hand here. All of you, if you can. All righty.
This young man.
There we go.
Congratulations. Great job.
Debbie, you want to get one picture with all of them? If we can get the mayor in the middle, and Jim and Al on each side. Jim and Al on each side.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to get together here a little bit. I wonder if you can turn this around this way. There we go. Are we all close in here? Good. Okay.
One guy with too much smile. Oh, that's great.
Thanks a lot. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think the kids know. The fact that there were so many camera flashes, that lets your kids know that the city of Wayne and the people here are very proud of what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Nice presents for it.
Item 2, City Council Minutes. Item A, Special Meeting, May 4th, 1992.
Move approval.
Support.
Move approval and support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item B, Special Meeting, May 5th, 1992.
Move approval.
Moved approval. Support. Support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item C, regular meeting of May 5th, 1992.
So moved.
Been moved?
Support.
Support. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kelly?
on one item, 05-92-354, it indicates at that time that the city council by a 6-1 vote, I would like it to indicate that mine was the dissenting vote.
Make that correction. With that correction, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 3, public hearings. Item A, public hearing to consider vacation of Cadillac Street between lots 16 and 17, Enright Park subdivision.
So moved.
Moved?
Support.
Support? Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, what we'd like you to do is hold your hearing here tonight and then take under advisement any comments that you would receive from the public. At a future point, we'd like to come back to you and ask you to take an action. But you've already called a hearing and it must be held. But at this point, there's a few little details that need to be ironed out. So if there's anybody here to speak to it, great. And if not, then we'd like you to close your hearing, but take no action on vacating the street this evening.
Okay, you've heard recommendation from the administration. Any comments from the audience on this matter? Hearing none. We'll close the public hearing, and this will be up at the next future council.
At a future meeting.
You need
to vote. You need to vote to
Take a
close.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Been
No,
moved.
just a motion to close the public hearing,
Close
that's all
it?
you need.
Okay.
You
Motion
just didn't
to close.
vote, you made the motion, but you didn't vote, that's all.
Okay.
Support. Been moved to close the public hearing and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item B, a public hearing and second reading to consider ordinance to amend section 1284.06 of zoning ordinance regarding mobile home standards.
So move approval.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item C, public hearing and second reading to consider ordinance to amend section 1256.03 of zoning ordinance regarding permitted accessory uses in neighborhood business districts. It's council's pleasure.
Move approval.
Move.
Support.
Support. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item D, public hearing and second reading to consider ordinance to amend section 1230.04 of zoning ordinance regarding definitions.
Move approval.
Moved approval.
Support.
Support. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 4, request for resolution for Franklin Junior High School 4.0 Club.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. This is a resolution honoring the Franklin Junior High School 4.0 Club. Whereas general education in the United States has been considered in a state of decline for the last decade, and whereas the condition of education in the state of Michigan reflects the same image as the United States, and whereas the Wayne Westland Community Schools, as one of the many school districts in the state of Michigan, is dedicated to academic excellence by its students, and whereas Franklin Junior High School is one of the 3 junior high schools in the Wayne Westland School District that actively promotes academic excellence, and whereas Franklin Junior High School has created a 4.0 club which represents the highest achievement of academic excellence within its institution. And whereas Franklin Junior High School, its administration, faculty, students, and parents honor those students achieving the highest mark of excellence each report marking period, therefore be it resolved that the City of Wayne City Council, on behalf of the citizens of our community, honors the 4.0 Club of Franklin Junior High School and congratulates its members for the achievements so richly deserved, and expresses its firm desire that this be the first step in a long road of academic excellence for each student, and therefore be it further resolved that this 19th day of May 1992 that this resolution becomes a permanent record of and respect and appreciation, and that a copy of be presented to the Franklin Junior High School 4.0 Club as our expression of congratulations and admiration. Kenneth A. Warfield, Mayor. And I'm going to give this to Councilman Kelly, who is going to attend the function tomorrow night to present that. Item 5, site plan review. Item A, Rosa Carlucci's, 35111 Michigan Avenue West. Mr. City Manager?
Debbie Manz will handle that, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor. And in the front row is Fred Ferguson here.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Ferguson is before you this evening to represent the renovation. It is not Mr. Ferguson's intent. I'm sorry, the plan you have in front of you is the exterior of the building. The plan that he brought forward this evening outlines the interior of the building, which actually is where he intends to do most of his renovation. It's his plan, rather than proposing changes on the exterior of the building, to reorient the interior space. As part of his plan, he will be expanding the bar area. Currently, there is a wall that runs north-south. He will be removing that wall and doubling the size of the bar. On the north side of the building, he will be creating an area where large parties can be served. In the middle of the building, he will be installing a salad bar. Most of the plans that Mr. Ferguson has proposed as part of this plan are fix-up items. He intends to upgrade and change the menu. He also intends to rename the restaurant to Rosa Carlucci's. It's his plan to go forward with all of these changes without interrupting his normal business hours. The Planning Commission, at their May 12th meeting, reviewed this plan, and they voted to recommend approval of the plan. He has 3 contingencies, one of which is to repair some landscaping on the property, which Mr. Ferguson has already begun to tend to. Second, which is to paint the building, and that was part of his plan as well. We'd like you, if you have any further questions about the plan, to ask and hopefully approve Mr. Ferguson's plan this evening.
Thank you, Debbie. Any questions, Mr. Ferguson? Any questions from Mr. Ferguson to city staff?
I will move approval of the administrative recommendation.
Moved to approved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item B, R&J Properties Incorporated, 3980 2nd Street. Deb?
Is he present?
Excuse
Is he
me?
present?
Mr. Dew?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Can you see?
Well,
There he is, okay.
This is Tanglewood.
It's Tanglewood.
Whoops.
We'll just leave it.
We'll need that later.
I guess we're going to find a way to get Ron's story on earlier, aren't we?
Dew is present this evening to represent his plan for a proposed 6,000 square foot building. Mr. Dew currently owns property, which is bounded by eastbound Michigan Avenue and 2nd Street, where he operates some offices. It's his intent to construct the office building facing 2nd Street. 1,200 square feet of the building will be used for office purposes. The other 4,800 feet will be used for shop. As part of Mr. Dew's plan, he has provided for parking on the north, east, and the south sides of the building. His plan includes rather extensive landscaping. Mr. Dew will be making a curb cut off of 2nd Street to provide for ingress and egress traffic. The staff, along with the Planning Commission, have reviewed the plan, and it's our recommendation to you this evening to approve the plan with 5 contingencies, 2 of which indicate appropriate city departments for Mr. Dew to apply to for permits, and the other 3 which request additional information to be provided on the plan.
Thank you, Debbie. Any discussion, questions of Mr. Dew? Mr. Dew, you familiar with the contingency? Any comments or anything you want to discuss on the contingency?
Move approval.
Support. Moved, supported. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you, Mr. Dew. Looks like a fine project. Matt.
Sorry, let me in this for you. Yeah.
Item C, all parties concerned, 34831 Michigan Avenue East. Debbie?
Mr. Mayor, that plan is a part of your packet. The proposed use of the building by Dawn Palmer, who is here to represent the plan this evening, is that of a party rental store. She has just been involved in the purchase of that building from Lou Foreman. The tenant, which is Goody's Pet Supply Company, will remain in the building until their lease expires. Ms. Palmer intends to use the back portion of the building to keep all of her party rental goods. Primarily, she'll be dealing in the rental of tents and chairs. As many of you have seen, this particular building before, some of the contingencies I'm certain will look familiar to you. The items that were picked out by the staff as being needed to be tended to are generally just maintenance items, 2 of which deal with the need for curb blocks to be located in the parking blocks along the west side of the building. 3 of the contingencies address the requirements of the dumpster. We've also asked that the west side of the building be painted. We've asked for some trees that have begun to grow on 2 sides of the building to be removed. It's our recommendation to you that this plan be approved with all the contingencies.
Thank you, Debbie. Don, any questions, concerns? Any questions of the council? Mr. Kelly?
Looking at the submitted plan, does that include the house on the, I believe it's the east side of the property?
Did you purchase the house on the east side of the property also?
Yes, we did.
They've purchased that, but that's not in this
We
site.
can't take in possession of that. They are currently, the former owner is currently evicting the tenants that were in there. And we will not receive possession of the house until it's vacated and we get a certificate of occupancy.
Okay, thank you.
Any other concerns or discussion? Hearing none, what's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Moved approval? Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. We're going to move to item 11Q. And
Debbie handling this?
Yes, well, begin while she's getting the plans ready.
Manager.
Debbie, we're going to go right to Tanglewood Sub. In the second row is Ron Story of S&H Homes. He's no stranger to the City Council nor the Planning Commission. Debbie, you can handle the plan, I'll just handle the opening remarks. While you're coming up, in the last week, the Planning Commission met and approved the plan with some changes. When we prepared the packet on Friday, we had just arranged the meeting for today to meet with Mr. Story and his consultant, Joe Stenrose. We met this morning and agreed on some changes. The changes are in front of you tonight on these plans. In essence, the changes are originally proposed were 29 lots. The plan now calls for 27 lots. The one lot was removed from each side of the street, which made it possible to increase the frontages of the remaining lots. Now this plan it resembles Glenwood Heights or Castlemaine Commons, whatever name you would call it by. Debbie, why don't you pick up from there in the Planning Commission?
Okay. The piece of property that John is referring to is a 9.6 acre parcel which is located between Whitney Knoll and Glenwood Heights subdivision. As proposed, 27 lots would be constructed on the parcel. Glenwood Road would be the major traffic road in and out of the subdivision, although there is a link into the subdivision from Brookfield Place. As John has indicated, the Planning Commission has reviewed the pre-application for the proposed subdivision, and at their May 12th meeting, they recommended approval of the plan, although they wanted some conditions looked at. The conditions that they asked that we look at were was the minimum frontage on the lot and the square footage. Since John and I met with Ron Story, so a couple changes have been made to the plan, and we now feel that all of the lots meet the minimum requirements.
Thank you, Debbie. Any questions or concerns? Mr. Phillips.
Being the council liaison of the Planning Commission, attended last week's Planning Commission meeting, in which some of the concerns that Ms. Manns expressed were discussed there, and I certainly want to commend Mr. Story. He's just a marvelous businessman and asset to the community for taking the considerations of that neighborhood into consideration. I think one of the niceties of that neighborhood that is currently constructed, of which I at one time resided, was the fact that they're very nice lots meeting the R1 AA type of zoning requirement. And I'm very pleased that the city and Mr. Story's good offices were able to come together on this pre-application. I commend you, sir.
Thank you. Any other discussions or concerns? Ron, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, not really. I'd like to greater density there, but I believe this that we have worked out now will probably serve the community best considering the surrounding areas. It's acceptable to me.
Thank you. Well, I have this opportunity. I'd also like to commend you on your other project there in Wayne, and it's coming along fine. We look forward to this one also.
Well, I'd like to say maybe one more comment. You know, I have worked in many cities around. I actually live over in Westland, and most of my work is done as a contractor and a builder in the Van Buren, the Belleville, the Canton, Farmington Hills area up and down the 275 corridor. But I've never found a more professional group to work with in your building department. And I've worked all around. It's not a cozy relationship. We have our differences, but it's a very professional one. And they're as committed to requiring me to build a quality product as I am to build it. And it's a pleasure to work with. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to congratulate you on your son's appointment to the Naval Academy. We're all proud of it. Been moved?
Support.
Supported? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 6, bid awards, central air conditioning unit for the animal shelter.
Move low bid, Denmark Heating and Cooling.
Been moved Denmark Heating and Cooling, Westland, $1,687.
Support.
Support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item B, award of bid for bandsaw.
Move the low bid, Mr. Mayor. Rock Tool, Livonia for $18.23.29.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item C, award of bid for pavement and removal and replacement, Phase 1, Alfred Loppe subdivision.
Move approval of the low bid, Mr. Mayor.
Moved approval of low bid.
Support.
Support. Any discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Question?
This isn't the company that did Annapolis Road last year, is it?
No, it's not.
No, okay.
It is not. Hard Rock Concrete is a company owned by
It's a Hard Rock Cafe.
contractor
series of
Rocco
bars.
Grimaldi. Am I correct on that, Frank? This is Rocco Grimaldi, correct?
Yes.
And this was the contractor we had?
Rock Concrete, and it's
We had-
another company from the company that did Annapolis Road.
Right.
However, this project is different than the one on Annapolis. Annapolis Road project was joint treatment more than pavement removal and replacement project. And Hard Rock Concrete has been working with them for the past 3-4 years. We've got 4 or 5 projects, and they do satisfactory work.
Yeah, they did some work here a while back, sidewalk work. Rocco Grimaldi has several companies under several names, and he has good references, as Ramsey has indicated.
Been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item D, award of bid for State Wayne Theater Phase 2 carpentry work.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Bill Clark is present tonight to answer any questions that you may have. Ralph Magid is not here. Ramsey El-Garib will cover some of the issues if need be. As you can see, we are not recommending the low bid. We're recommending the bid in the second lowest bid. Bill, would you like to amplify the reasons therefore?
Okay, our low bidder of HS Construction did not comply with the specifications as set forth. Some of the main items that they deleted, and when we computed them back in, it put their bid over $40,000, but they did not bid on wood doors, the plywood stage flooring, dumpsters, cleanup, and hallway. And those items alone are in excess of $10,000.
So we're recommending to you the lowest bidder that met the specifications. Okay.
Councilor Flynn?
Question. Mr. Clark, would it be possible when you communicate with the city, I read the paragraph and I had a question all weekend, it says Conquest is your recommendation, although not the lowest bid, it is the most complete and thorough. Could you also add in the future that they didn't meet the bid specifications? That, to me, makes more sense than something that says complete and thorough. I didn't understand what that meant, and you know, if we're gonna let out bids that have specs on them, let's look at it comes back either meeting the specs or not. I think that would be something I like to see in a record.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that's my doing. I'll take care of that. Mr. Clark operates in the private sector. We in the public. There's certain appropriate wording that we should have included. That's why I asked him to amplify the matter with you tonight, as it went through my office, and I did not indicate in my brief to you that this was the lowest bid that met all the specs.
Very good. Mr. Kelly moved to support. And supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item E, award a bid for State Wayne Theater Phase 2 HVAC work. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
We're recommending the low bid to you on this one, as they all met specs.
Move approval of the award of $71.50 to United Temperature Services, Inc.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion?
I have a question. An old question, it seems, Mr. Clark. Noticing the bids that were sent out, I noticed that Rowland Brothers is included on one of them, two of them. There are a couple of other heating and cooling establishments in the community, and I wondered if anything had been sent out to them to solicit a bid for them.
Do you have the name?
Yeah, Wayne Heating and Cooling, A1 Heating and Cooling.
I'm not prepared to answer that tonight, but I will in the next council.
I would hope that when bids are being taken, that all of the Wayne businesses would be considered.
We are trying to involve Wayne businesses where possible. We were really in hopes that Roland would have chosen to get involved with us.
That didn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Been moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item F, awards a bid for State Wayne Theater Phase 2 electrical work. It's council's pleasure.
Move acceptance of Bratcher Electric.
Support. Moved and supported. Any discussion? Mr. Phillips?
You might not see it here, but significant difference of $17,000 and $18,000 for Bratcher and Aetna, and a $4,000 bid on G5 Electric.
It's a similar situation as
not meeting the specs?
Yes. And in the private sector, they say most thorough and complete, and in the public sector, we said did not meet specs. And that's, again, my apologies that we didn't catch that and cover it in the cover memo to you.
Are bids being, are our specs fairly complete when we request bids?
Oh, yes.
And people are just bidding on part of the project, I guess, or just
in the case of G5 Electric, they selected just to bid on the area of the projection and the auditorium equipment.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Kelly?
The second page of the presentation, paragraph asking for $6,000 to be allocated as a contingency. And I would like to know what is the cause for that.
At this point, Mr. Bill, let me cut in here for a second. At this point, we're recommending to you the $17,861, excuse me, and we'll come back to you later if need be for appropriate change order, if need be.
I think the point is, Mr. Kelly is
of a specific amount of money, and I'm just curious of why.
Do we know there's going to be some additional?
There frequently is in this building because of the age of it. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, if I may address this, in Phase 1, we also allowed a $6,000 contingency. This is to have monies available if city inspection advises us to do other upgrade work there on panels not involved with the direct work that we're about to undertake. Last time when we went through, the electrical inspector had us upgrade a couple of panels in the adjoining room, replace some wiring and some defective plugs that were in other areas of the building that were not working. We feel that we caught most of that last time through because the inspection was rather thorough, but we do feel since there still be some existing wiring in the building that we would propose a small contingency to cover that.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Phillips.
Again, not being a contractor, Mr. Clark, you're talking about a small contingency that's a third of the bid. Is that a kind of a standard contingency?
It's the same contingency as you used last time, and that's why what we'd like you to do is just approve the bid this evening. And then if there's more work to be done, we'll come to you with a change order.
My question, though, is it about a third industry standard for contingencies on renovations of buildings?
15 to 20%.
In this particular building, we just picked the number that we went with the last time that proved to be the right number. we did about $5,000 worth of upgrades. This time around, as I said earlier, we don't feel that there'll be that much involved. All we did was use the same number we used the first time, so we have a basis to start from.
Not being on the council, on the previous bid, was that the electrical work approximately the same?
No, the electrical work last time around was around 100,000, was it not?
Yeah, it was several times more than what we're.
So we had about a 6% contingency, and this is
Yes.
a third.
Right. But in the Mr. Maggott's memo to me, it just recommends the bid. It didn't cover the issue of the 6,000. And what we'd like to do is work our way through this with Mr. Clark, and he isn't here this evening to answer those questions directly. Mr. Maggot, that is. Bill Clark is here. But we'd like just to recommend the bid, and then if there's more work that needs to be done, we'll keep you apprised and come back to you with it.
Mr. Zeck, if I could add one more thing to that, please. The reason that we requested from the electrical contractors an hourly rate was to use that rate against the contingency. That's why you see on here there's a preset hourly rate, so that if we do get into additional work there because of the conditions in wiring that's uncovered, it's unexpected, we'll be locked into an hourly rate plus a parts and markup rate.
Thank you. Any other concerns or questions? What's the council's pleasure? Moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item G, award of bid for State Wayne Phase 2 demolition work.
In this case, we're recommending to you the low bid.
Move approval of the
Support.
award to Dombrowski and Associates.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 7, business licenses and permits. Item A, renewal of license to operate 3 mechanical or electronic amusement devices at the Fiddle Bar, 35676 Van Born Road.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item B, renewal of license to operate 2 mechanical or electronic amusement devices at the Food Basket Market, 5703 South Wayne Road.
So move approval.
Moved approval, support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 8, second reading and adoption of the curfew ordinance.
This is the same issue, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, that was before you at the last meeting. The only change that's been made is in Section 2, changing it from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's for children 14 years and under. Mr. Colligan is here tonight to respond to any questions you may have. And of course, the city attorney is here to answer any further concerns you may have about this ordinance as well.
So move approval.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Comments from persons in the audience on matters not covered by the council agenda. Anyone have any matters to come before the council? No. Item 9, appointments to Arts and Entertainment Committee.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, at the last meeting, you asked that this item be back on the agenda. At the time, I believe it was Councilman Norton's suggestion that each member of the city council make an appointment and that the mayor make 3 appointments. That would be for a collective committee of 9 people. The city attorney and I, however, need to get together and finish up our work on the scope of the committee, and we're certain we want 9, 3 to have 3-year, 3 to have 2-year, 3 to have 1-year terms to meet quarterly, as it's included in your packet. But you also asked us to draft some parameters that the committee would be involved in terms of advising the staff and the city council about arts and entertainment issues. Unfortunately, I did not get an opportunity to complete that work, and so we'd like to bring that element back to you at the first meeting in June. But we are here tonight to take down any nominations you have, and I also did ask the staff to make some suggestions to me that if some of you were thinking of somebody to nominate and hadn't come up with a person or so, that we had some names, so to speak, that we could offer to you, and maybe between this meeting and June the 2nd, you can formulate and put all the people together for this committee, Mr. Mayor.
Without objection, I think that'd be the next thing, that we put it together for the next meeting.
Yes, that's fine.
We'll receive and file. Item 10, communications and reports, City of Riverview resolution concerning Wayne County Board of Commissioners and Model Youth Service Ordinance.
Receive and file.
I've received and filed, but I want the city manager to keep track of this. I know it may or may not be a possibility of some additional funding there. We'll have to keep our eye on this issue. Okay?
I'll have Mr. Polis and Barbara Schimmel follow this, and I believe Councilman Kelly has spoken to us before about this issue of youth funds at the county and some of the squabbles that are going on relative to them. But I'll have Mr. DePolis and Ms. Schimmel stay abreast of this, and if there is some money out there for youth programs, we will bring it to your attention. As you know, at the last meeting, we indicated to you that we're going to be receiving a grant, the City of Wayne and the City of Dodge City together, $17,000. So we're always on the lookout for grant funds for worthy projects.
Very good. Item B, June emergency exercise messages number 7 and 8. Receive and file. Item C, April 92 Youth Connection report. Our Youth Connection lady is doing a fine job continuing that work with the youth in the community. Receive and file. Item D, results of Personnel Board election May 4th to fill employee representative position. See, Mrs. Shirley Pauser was the victorious campaigner in that 40 votes there. Congratulations, Shirley. And I'm sure the employees will be well represented. Thank you. Receive and file. Item E, notice of Michigan Coalition Award for safety belt use. It's from Chief John Colligan. Do you want to speak on this briefly, John?
Mayor, members of the council, the board, that particular group is very shortly going to cease to exist. They've been in operation for 6 years, and their goal was to reach at least 50 to 70% compliance of primary seatbelt use in the state to cut down traffic fatalities and serious injury accidents. And I think they've accomplished their goal. They're still lobbying to get seatbelt enforcement as a primary enforcement, and I really believe that someday we'll see that. If a police officer sees somebody riding without their shoulder harness on, they'll have the ability to stop and issue a violation. We received an honorable mention award for the efforts that our officers have in writing this type of violation. We're pleased to get it.
Very good. Thank you.
John, do you have any information off the top of your head as to what type of seatbelt usage there is in the community?
In our community, no, I wouldn't be able to tell. I know, I say we've written, I believe last year, in excess of 50 violations for the whole year, so they must be learned. So we're very pleased.
John, what's roughly the state average? Isn't it about a third?
50 to, in between 50 and 60% right now, I believe is what it is, that high.
Two-thirds now.
A lot of public education went into it, and the kids are really heavily involved. I know my kids tell me all the time.
Okay, item F, sympathy acknowledgement from family of Merle Richardson. Received and filed. We fellow served many years with this community. We appreciate his long service and have our sympathy to the family. Item G, report from Parks and Recreation Director concerning the Youth Assistance Program grant.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
You was a little
I thought that was
premature
on the
there.
last agenda. This is on tonight's agenda. I'm still on Mayor's Day, I'm afraid.
Okay.
But that's the grant that Ted was reporting to you about. Sorry, Ted.
Looks very good. Retroactive, 17,000 grant. We'll receive and file. Thank you, Ted. Item H, report from Director of Public Services concerning Van Born Road Improvement Project.
We could just for a second, Mr. Mayor. Ramsey, would you run through this project? If you recall, at one of our recent budget meetings, May the 4th, I believe it was, Mr. Magid reported on our efforts with Wayne County to get them to address Van Born Road, the repaving of it, that is, between Vinoy and Wayne Road, and he's put together some information for you. You want to summarize that for the group?
Yes. This project is tentatively scheduled for 1993, and Mr. Magid has been on the Southeastern Michigan Council of Governments Committee for the Federal Aid Urban Projects, and due to the new transportation bill and the ICT bill from the federal government, the Southeastern Michigan Government Councils have been scheduled their project for 1993, and this is going to be between Vinoy Road and Wayne, and as you know, this is the worst part of Van Born, that location out there. And normally what the project consists of is rehabilitation of the existing concrete base, where they're going to treat the joints and remove all the loose material out and pack it up and then resurface it with 4 to 6 inches asphalt, new asphalt pavement. We haven't been informed about the new design, but however, we'll be on meetings with Wayne County and Romulus and upcoming project this coming year, which is 1993, summer of 1993.
The proposed estimate at this point is $32,500. If you recall, at the point of our budget meetings, we were working on the local street program, the major street program. We were talking about the road millage program, and we had just got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and we started to talk about Van Born Road, and I believe Mr. Rothfelder started to faint on us for a moment, but we're talking about a $32,500 estimate. We'll stay on top of this and continue to report to you on it, because it's a serious road issue that we have, and we want to take care of it.
Well, we'll last another year.
This is about the third.
Mr. Phillips.
It should be noted that that's Wayne's share, $32,500. The total cost is estimated at $780,000, of which some of the money from the new federal highway bill, and
this is about 4.5% of total project cost, where the federal share is about 80% of total, 10% for Wayne County and about 5% for Romulus and 5% for Wayne.
For the county, though, we have $8,895,000 budget for the ICT work.
Yes.
Any other discussion or concerns? We're sure going to be glad to get that completed. That's right.
Mr. Rothfelder, was this a major street project, or was this road millage we were speaking of?
This will come out of the major street.
Out of the major street fund? Okay. The road millage program is covering Lofty South?
Yes.
Lofty South, thank you.
Thank you. Receive and file. Item I, Friends of the Rouge, an invitation to attend the 1992 Rouge River Student Congress on Sunday, May 16th. That one, I don't know if anybody was able to attend that, or we were pretty busy this past week.
Yes, right.
But that is a good program, and we've been working with some of the students at Franklin Junior High. They're keeping us on the ball, make sure we're doing what we're supposed to along that area. We're hoping we'll get some funding from the federal government to assist us in this major project. Item J, report on Western Wayne Specialized Services Task Force meeting of April 28th.
As I indicated to you in the brief, we sent staff today to the meeting that was held today at 2 o'clock. Representative of the Recreation and Parks Department went, and we'll have a report for you on that meeting that occurred today at your next meeting, probably about the same time as the next set of minutes show up.
Very good. Receive and file. Item K, letter from resident complimenting the ordinance officer. This letter is to compliment our ordinance officer, Susan Sweet.
Mr. Mayor? We may please make sure that this gets into her personnel file. But a nice testimony for her, good work.
We'll see to it. It's being an ordinance officer is a tough job. You're meeting people most of the time, asking them to do things that they either don't want to do or haven't done yet, and getting compliments. In this case, Mr. Ostrowski is Susan Sweet's supervisor, getting letters from residents to supervisors about ordinance officers are difficult to come by. That's why we passed it on to you. She does a good job.
Very good. Item L, letter from Representative John Dingell acknowledging concerns about the Cable Television Consumer Protection Act. Received and file. Item M, Family and Neighborhood Services, thank you for proclamation. Received and file. Item N, communication from Representative Kostiva concerning Senate Bill 73 regarding revenue sharing payment changes. Finance Department's been aware of these changes.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Kelly.
I would have one question of the Finance Department. How does that affect, a little later on in tonight's proceedings, we are going to be asked to deliberate on the budget. If this is going to be delayed, what impact is that going to have on our budget?
The word that came down from Lansing and the information that's been funneled into the Office of Management and Budget from the state is that we knew all along that after the $34+ million was to be cut, it would then be restored. However, no growth was predicted in next year's budget, and plus there would be the, as the information came from Representative Kostiva, a delay in revenue sharing payments, which, if it's a temporary delay, will only affect us in terms of interest income, lost interest income, and cash flow. But in terms of if it's a permanent delay, I don't really understand how it can be something that's not considered quote unquote a cut. So that's something that has to be seen as to whether that's a permanent delay or something that's just going to take place in order for the state to then balance their budget, because they did have $800 million, and that was part of the balancing technique. But we'll be informing the city manager as we receive word from the state as to whether or not that's a permanent cut.
Tom, you took into consideration in preparing the revenue projections for our proposed budget the fact that this money was going to be delayed.
Yes.
Did you not?
Well, that's a cash situation versus budget, and in terms of states delaying the payments, we'll have less cash available, but we'll be able to operate. There's, I think, really, according to the word I hear, very few cities in the state that will be impacted negatively with regard to the delayed revenue sharing payments. Obviously, there's going to be some, but if they don't have that much cash in relation to their total budget, they have more serious problems than just that.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Well, yeah, Mr. Mayor, I still have a little problem with it, Tom, and if you could explain it a little bit. What is the total amount of anticipated or revenue sharing from the state over the next year? I don't have the budget book with me, and it just leads me to be concerned about it right now.
On page 19 of the original proposed budget, we estimate the state revenue sharing to be about $2.2 million. Actually, $2,188,542. That is the amount that's projected, and as you can see, comparing that to the previous year, that amount will be down somewhat. However, it's up very slightly from our estimated year end. So, there's very little growth. The growth is going to come very, very slow, along with the economy, and the economy in Michigan is going to follow the national economy. That's what's been predicted, at least in most recent surveys I've seen, both by Eastern Michigan University, the December one, and we'll be looking at the March one and talking about the state also. The state doesn't always tell us what the growth factors will be. And we usually look at the state's estimates. They come through information to us through the Michigan Municipal League, as well as through the state of Michigan. They don't make revenue estimates every month, but they do make revenue estimates, I believe, on a quarterly basis.
I guess the fear I have is that over the years we've seen a demise of federal revenue sharing, and it has hurt municipalities throughout the entire country. And that started off, if I remember correctly, a number of years ago with basically the same idea of delayed payments, and then all of a sudden everybody was scrambling. And when we look at state revenue sharing right now is in relationship to our budget, it's a substantial amount of money. And
20% of our budget.
it does raise my fears. But thank you for your information.
One of the major, your comments are well taken. We are concerned about revenue sharing. Cities all across the state of Michigan are having similar problems, especially those who have lost population. Population is a factor in the formula. As the population decreases, so does our revenue sharing payments.
Yeah, but in the estimates that you had come up with for the figures presented, you had taken that factor into...
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Phillips.
Mr. Norwood, how much of the revenue sharing is statutorily guaranteed to municipalities based on legislation in the state regarding taxes, gas and weight taxes on a per capita basis? I mean, the state cannot, they can delay payment, but must not payment be made under the current statutes?
Yes, and I will research that further. I believe the constitutional requirement is 15% in the sales tax area. And
could you do a report on that? We'd be interested in finding out, the mandated requirements under Headley and the other.
Sales and use tax is one area, and they both come in based on population, relative tax effort, and a factor that the state uses. That is constitutionally required from sales in Michigan. And those amounts obviously vary from locality to locality, because if our tax rate is lower, so does our revenue sharing payments. They become lower based on relative tax effort.
Tom, do you want to just look at page 16 of the budget book? I think that would help
we have
some of the information you may have to come back at the next meeting with. But I think your revenue...
The definition and the explanation for some of those revenues are on page 15. I'm sorry, page 16.
Page 16.
The manager indicated.
Income tax, state and use. Why don't you run through that, and we'll bring this back for you again at the next meeting, but there's a great deal of the information you're requesting is right here. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, state share revenues obviously total $2.2 million. Certain taxes are collected, obviously sales and use, so forth, distributed as a portion to local units as unrestricted revenues. In other words, we can use them and to take care of any part of our budget. They are totally unrestricted. We are projecting a growth, as I've indicated here, in excess of 4% from our current year-end budget, but still, there's no more revenue that was in 88, 89. And so that's going to require us to trim back, and it's kind of a double whammy along with the assessment freeze that we're experiencing. Income tax, I believe the percentage for income tax changes each year in conjunction with the formula. Here, my information is that the state distributes about 7% of the gross tax collections to all the cities and the counties and the villages. The sales and use tax, again, the Constitution, I was correct, mandates 15% of gross sales collections. And the formula, again, is based on per capita distribution. We receive liquor license fees based on the licenses which have been approved and issued in the city of Wayne. And the inventory tax reimbursement amount is calculated by using the prior year's ad valorem tax levy on real and personal property against the 75 SEV of business inventory. This replaced the business inventory in 1975 and has really not increased since that date. We have had no increase in that amount. So we have a very flat area when it comes to this portion of our revenues. Single business tax payment is based again on local tax effort. That's our tax rates compared to others across the state of Michigan and our population. That varies. Single business tax, again, had, as you might recall from your MML meetings and information passed on from the state and the Michigan Municipal League, that the state of Michigan is trying to fill a loophole created that was created in the budget process, whereby a business who are based in Michigan and have other subsidiaries in other states are able to take advantage of a business deduction, a single business tax. And the legislature over the past year has been trying to eliminate this loophole. I don't exactly know where that is at this point, but that was one of the main objectives by the state, trying to increase their revenue to balance their budget.
So if you add those numbers, Tom, from income tax through the reimbursement we receive for the judge's salary, that equals the 2.25 million, 2.225 million.
Yes.
Which is what we have over here on page 19 for you. Okay, and we took a conservative approach because of the delay. Instead of it being 2.225, we're saying there's going to be about 2.2.
Yep. But, the point that has to be made, though, is there's only one or two of those that are dictated by state constitution. The rest of them are up for grabs if the state legislature or the governor decides that he wants to cut back.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I believe there's a factor with the Headley, though, that requires so much percent or something under Headley, it has to be returned to the local governments.
And that's in the 40% range.
And they have to watch that appropriation. That's the information I'd like to, I'm aware of this, but I'd like to know what that Headley impact and requirement is.
Do some research on it and bring it back to the next council meeting.
Sure.
Item O, report from DPW Superintendent on Glenwood Cemetery lawn maintenance.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, at the last meeting, a couple of remarks were made relative to when the city started using outside contractors to cut the grass at the cemetery, that there was some damage done to some of the headstones, tombstones, etc. I asked Frank Boner if he would give us a report for you to have indicating what action we took when the damage was discovered, and that there hasn't been any difficulty for some time now. But the remark that was made to you was true. There was some damage done to a couple of the stones by the outside contractor. We very quickly got rid of that contractor and have another. And there's been, so far, with our new one, it's too early to tell, but with the one we had for several years, things worked out very well.
They rebid that job, the one we had for several years?
Yes, we had.
Yes, that's why we have a new one.
B&B for 3 years. We rebid, got a different contractor this year. They seem to be doing an excellent job so far.
B&B was one of the people that bid again, but they were underbid by American Lawn and Lots.
Yes.
Mr. Phillip, they post a bond, I assume, for their services. For example, if some of these tombstones are chipped, damaged,
They are responsible in the county for any chip stones. They have replaced them. The contractor that we had, first contractor we had, did chip quite a few stones. We did deduct money from them and we replaced the stones.
They don't need a performance bond in the contract we write up. It's simply a deduction of payment for damages. Is that how?
We have not had a bond in the past and they have not had any problem collecting it. The repairs were done. The contractor, of course, finished the year out 1 year. We did not recommend renewal the contract. Since then, we've had excellent service from them, and no chip stones, I don't believe, in the last 3 years.
Mr. Bonner, do we, at the end of the season, kind of take a once-over of the cemetery to take a look at the condition? I mean, I suspect that there might be people that don't get to our cemetery on a regular basis yet if there's some damage to their loved ones, headstones, that would be a very grievous thing to come upon. Is that
We do
kind of a-
monitor comparative close to foremen there just about every day.
Oh, thank you.
And of course, the men bring to our attention too if there is any damage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Receive and file. Item 11, general items for consideration. Resolution to adopt the 92-93 budget and millage rate.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, at your places tonight, distinguishing it from the one in your packet, is a packet of information from Tom Norwood to me, which I've passed on to you. On the upper right-hand corner in blue, it says item 11A. Also at your places marked 11A is some additional information regarding a section of the capital projects budget that came under discussion at our meeting last Wednesday night relative to the planned wetland project. What we have here for you in the thicker of the two packets are, of course, a cover memo from Mr. Norwood, but the what you have is pages 8, 9, and 10 are the proposed budget resolution that reflect some changes that were made during our budget meetings with you, wherein you wanted some things moved around slightly, some changes. That's what's covered in items 8, 9, and 10. On page 12...
Before you leave page 10, would make that correction you made further back, you did on page 10, under retirement, police and fire should be in parentheses there.
Okay, right, I was going to get to that.
Item 12 was, or page 12 shows it the property.
Okay, you got that, Tom? Page 10, halfway down the page where it says operating, general operating revenue, retirement, would you add parentheses, police and fire, behind the word retirement? Okay, on page 12 we have added it. Page 21, the changes on page 21 were relative to some typographical errors. Page 22 indicates some slight shifting of funds to cover some of the issues that we cover further back. A couple of the budgets went up or down very, very slightly. And this is the area where we talked about community projects, a recognition dinner next year, a couple of small adjustments here in some of the overall budgets, but we wanted to, you have the exact pages as you went through your budget hearings. Same thing is over here, Tom. We should, under recreation and culture on page 23, we should standardize the word if we're going to say Wheel Fest or festival. We've got it festival in one case, Fall Fest, Wheel Fest, Homecoming Festival. Would you reprogram that, please? The judicial services, page 45. The judge did request an additional person. That was an error on our part when we printed up her request first. It made it look like she did not when she actually did. I recommended that the amount of staff she has stand pat. However, we did not tamper with the amount we put in the personal services area. And as you know, she can use all of her money for staff if she wishes and have no materials and supplies or that kind of thing. But the number of 464,204 is the exact number that was discussed with you at the budget hearing. That was her request. There was a mistake on my part relative to the Historical Museum. We had actually double deducted something, and I needed to reflect that here to you. Mr. Gowdy pointed it out to me later when we went over the worksheets that we had deducted twice for an expense, and that was my doing. I figured I could save money, but I didn't. So I wanted you to see that we had changed this budget. The last time we were in front of you, the budget was for this was almost $24,000, a little over $24,000. This is just adding in $1,000. Wheel Fest, page 85, was just a name change. Community promotions, if you look down to the bottom of the page almost, we're proposing, based on your comments, that we next year will be going away from Mayor's Exchange Day, but sometime we'll work with you relative to the scheduling of this event We would like to, as we've discussed with you before, have a recognition dinner for the people that work with us on flower planting, cleanup day, Rouge cleanup, all of our boards and commissions people, and have an opportunity to thank them for their efforts. And we took your recommendation here to heart and included it in the budget. This required us to do a little bit of changing on page 92 with some of our transfers. I believe Tom and Ed, we took the money for the community promotion project out of risk management. Seemed appropriate. If we were taking care of business, we would be under less risk. And but that's a minor change there. We lowered that budget by $3,000 plus the $1,000 for the museum. So originally this was $174,449, and now it's $170,000. On page 115, now we can talk about both handouts that are at your place. Under planned wetlands, we changed that term to reflect what the project is about, and we broke into two pieces what had been before lumped into a single number. And if you have your budget book handy and you turn to page 115 of your budget book, you'll see that the numbers that are on the old page 115 and new page 115 are the same number. We've just divided it for you into the two categories of expenses that are in that capital projects budget. We were in error at the last meeting indicating to you that all of the money goes merely for the payment of taxes. As you asked, we researched the issue and found that part of the money goes for taxes and part of it goes for professional services, legal fees, planning, etc. If you want to back up to the first column, prior year actual 1990-91, a total of $40,742 was spent. Almost $7,800 of it was taxes. Roughly $32,900 was professional services. And Mr. Norwood has broke that out for you on this two-page memorandum here, marked item 11A. It indicates precisely what was paid in the way of taxes and what was paid for consultants, topography maps, winter taxes, the installation of signs to keep people from trespassing on the property, as we had residents of Romulus calling us and telling us that there was hunting and shooting going on our property, and they would like it to stop, as did we. We didn't want that problem, so we posted it. And then there was some soil borings taken. As I've mentioned to you, we had to do some borings, particularly in the northwest corner of the property, to convince the MDNR that there wasn't anything leaching out of Woodland Meadows number 2 into our proposed wetland, and that's what CTI and Associates is. At the bottom of the page is the breakdown of the current year, indicating roughly $8,000 in taxes and $8,900 in consultants' fees. So, Tom, would you like to add anything further about this issue of the capital projects section? I know we had a lot of discussion about it in the last few days, you and I and your staff. Is there anything further you need to say about this?
No, sir. Not unless there are any further questions.
Okay. We did goof, as we indicated. We thought it was all taxes, and we thought and the reason why we thought it is that that prior year actual for 1 year there was $40,000, and then the other two were $17,17, and we knew at one point we paid 2 years worth of taxes in 1 year. The first time we paid taxes on this property was January of '90. We took possession of it in May of '88. So we had to get current on the '88 and '89 and part of the '90 taxes.
I still would like Ed to research that the property south of there, just for comparison.
That's on the second page.
Second page.
Mayor, we did that.
And what did that turn out?
Ed, it's the second paragraph on that page.
The property immediately to the east of the land we own is all residential, both along Cogswell Road and along Van Born Road. Right. We did not compare those because those all have houses on them. Immediately south is approximately a 5-acre parcel, 4.85 acres. That land is assessed at $2,470 per acre, total assessment 11,980 acres. And just south of that property is a slightly larger parcel, 19.43 acres, and that's valued at the same price, calculates out at $2,467 per acre for a total of $47,940. The parcel we own is over 71 acres. It's valued about $1,700 an acre. The total SED on that for 1991 was $123,010. Does that answer your question, sir?
Right. Question on this property regarding, as I'm reading corrected page 115 in the packet we received tonight, we will have spent for this year approximately $8,900 to the Prochaska Company for consulting fees at the end of this budget year, is that, as I read this, which puts us fairly close to somewhere to the $30,000 to $40,000 range in consulting fees. We're also projecting the same figure for next year. Not a lot's been done out there. Is that the correct assessment over the past 12 months?
We haven't put shovels in the ground, etc., but there is a great deal has been done in terms of preparing plans and specs upon which to go out to bids to build the wetland. Our estimates, however, are that the wetland that we have proposed and has been approved, we've asked the state to consider an amendment to our wetland plan that would therefore permit us to spend less money on the wetland. And that has required us to redo parts of our plans and specs. We are still negotiating with the state relative to that subject. That's why we're projecting some funds for planning consultants for this upcoming fiscal year, as well as the possibility of some other issues relative to some of the conversations we've had about a golf course and other things of that sort.
Thank you. So you feel, I mean,
we hope not to spend it at all, but if we need to, we want to have money set into the budget so that we're not taking it from fund balance. And you know, that's the approach we take, is putting enough in there for taxes and then enough money in there to cover other services, professional services, etc. And we are pursuing the issue relative to the subject that we discussed about integrating a golf course into the wetland project with the MDNR. As I said, we'll know in the not too distant future whether that'll be a possibility or not.
Any other concerns or discussion?
Okay, going back to the rest of the pages then. I lost my place here for a moment. Here, I'm sorry. Okay, we were at 115. Okay, right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On to page 10. We just wanted to reflect to you the actual request of the judge was $486,316. Her budget last year was $434,000. The recommendation to you, which you addressed a week or so ago, was just in between the proposal and last year's budget. So, in other words, an increase of about $30,000 over last year's budget, but not an increase of $50,000. And the impression we have from the judge and from her assistant is that that is workable. I already spoke to you about the fact that I accidentally double deducted something to do with the alarm system and the telephone system at the museum. When that was called to my attention, I put back one of the deductions, and that's what's on page 29. Wheelfest is merely a name change at the top of the page. We'll cover that in the future with calling it Wheelfest. Community projects is the actual budget, indicating the $3,000 for the recognition dinner. The last page is the transfers. And again, we took money from Risk Management Fund 999.677. We reduced that fund by the amount we needed to cover the recognition dinner and the museum. We do recommend to you that you approve the budget with its corrections, and of course, we'll answer any questions that you have about the budget, its resolution, the millage rate, etc.
Any further discussion? The council's pleasure. Oh, a question back there? Tom?
I did have one final comment. We didn't put it in the budget, but any changes in estimated revenues that are under our estimates, any expenditures that we do not foresee that are going to cause us to be in deficit, I will bring immediately to the city manager, who will notify the council. I will not hesitate to do that at any time whatsoever as soon as it becomes evident.
Thank you. So move approval. Been moved.
Support.
Support. Any discussion? Mr. Phillips.
Mr. City Manager, I'd like to know the possibility of, we're going to approve a rather large amount of money here tonight, I suspect, that in the 6 months that I've been sitting here, I see how it's spent, obviously, but does the finance department, maybe the finance gentleman can answer, do they have monthly statements? I'd like somehow to be appraised or be aware of how we are doing intermittently within this budget.
How often would you like to know? We do it every month. We can give it to you quarterly if you'd like. We can give it to you semi-annually, but on the 15th of each month, the finance department gives me a year-to-date for each account, and they tell me by the activity, by the budget, by the department. Printing them out on a monthly basis for all of the council. If you'd like, we'll, at the next meeting, give you one that we have for this budget we're in now, and you could take a look at it. It's several pages. It's green bar paper, the computer-style paper, but maybe you'd like to see this quarterly. Have no difficulty at all. We print them on the computer and for all the departments to have, so they can make sure that the appropriations or the purchase requisitions that they send in are what they are actually reflecting. If there's any discrepancies between what they think, where they think they are in their budget and where the finance department thinks they are, the policies and procedures of the administration are that the department head meets with finance and they reconcile the situation. If they can't seem to reconcile it, it seems to end up on the city manager's desk. If I can't reconcile it, then there's something wrong. If in every department keeps an accurate set of records, and the finance people do a real good job of getting back. If a budget gets out of whack, they call it to my attention. That's one of the things I asked Mr. Norwood to do when I took over. If he sees something in this monthly report that doesn't look right to him, not to keep it a secret. And as what he just said a moment ago, he comes right to me about it. But we can show you what these look like at the next meeting.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Mayor, the suggestion by the Mayor Pro Tem is excellent. But the accepted practice that I'm familiar with is that reports of that nature usually would be on a quarterly basis. And as long as the city manager and the finance department is on top of it at all times, I think a quarterly report is quite well within order.
That would be fine. If it's the consensus of the council, just so we can see, again, we know what's budgeted 25% through the year. Where are we in a budget? I would think that would be information.
Well, I don't remember ever getting it.
Tom,
I think we will in the future.
Tom, will you arrange so that the quarter ending March 31 of 92, that quarter, can you give me adequate copies for the next council meeting that we can give to the council and show them where we are within that month and within the 9 months of the fiscal year through the end of March?
Might want to consider how to best do this, because the green bar paper, once it is not easily copied. I don't think I have any.
Can you program it to spit out 10 copies when you program it?
Is it an onerous task?
Yeah, they can.
We want to make sure that
No, they can run multiple.
understandable for you.
Yeah, we'd have to make them on the big paper as opposed to shrinking them down.
I've got confidence you'll be able to do that for us.
We'll do it.
Thank you. Item B, resolution, that's the need, we, I don't know if you vote. Need to vote, though. It's been moved and approved, or
Supported.
Moved, supported. Now we would like to approve it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Mr. Mayor,
Item B.
I think your motion was only on the budget too. I think you need to address the issue of the millage rate too before you.
Okay.
Millage rate.
Isn't that all in one? It's all in one.
That is an omnibus resolution. It covers
Okay,
It
because
is.
you only said the one, and I want to make sure that it was understood.
Now, we sure it's all covered?
Yes.
Okay.
one
Okay.
entire resolution.
All right.
I thought we had to do.
Every once in a while, we can use a Latin word,
Done
omnibus, and
separately
we like
all
to.
these other years.
Dick, you're spoiling our
What
fun.
changed? We got new religion.
New finance officer.
Would you, the attorney,
I will defer if it's been done in past practice. Usually my preference is to keep things separate, but if it's been done in the past as one, I will defer to those who've been here longer than I. I like the council to make separate motions, though, as a general rule. It's easier
No
for us to
problem
keep
with that.
track of things.
I knew there was something.
It's, specifically, it is in that resolution that you passed, it is on page
10.
10.
Mr. Mayor? If we have already done so, and have approved it, I would like to just point out to the audience, number one, this is the 5th year in a row that I've been involved in that we have been able to reduce the millage rate. This year is probably the smallest amount of reduction, but it's still a reduction. And, you know, that's amazing in this time that we're living in. We're down to 19.54 mils now. And one of the goals I set a long time ago was to get the millage rate down as quickly and as low as possible. And we're slowly but surely inching up on that. So I'm very pleased with that.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Item B, resolution to adopt 92-93 water and sewer rates.
As was indicated to you in the budget hearings, we recommend to you the rates as proposed by the Finance Department, Mr. Rothfelder in particular. We would like to make particular note, again, as we did at the last meeting, that we'd like these rates to be effective June 1 of this year. And we will, through the 3 forms of media that we discussed, get the word out about the need for an increase in the water rates.
Question?
Can I ask why our sewer rates are higher than our water rates? And especially in the summertime, you know, when you water your garden, you water your lawn, it's not going through the sewer, but you're paying for it anyway?
Well, it has to do with the treatment of sewage is more expensive than processing of water. But our expert, Ed Rothfelder, is behind you, and if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like him to answer. Mr. Rothfelder.
Right now, the sewer rate is just slightly higher than the water rate. We used to charge the same amount and ignore the differences in cost that were starting to mount up. The increasing treatment that we do, both through the Detroit system and to contain our system here in town, get the sewage from your houses and other places to the interceptors, is increasingly more expensive. The cost of treatment is increasingly higher all the time. We're doing various things to improve the system, make it tighter, keep water from coming in through drains and other places into the system. We're trying to eliminate those things in the future. The costs you see now are just beginning to increase. They're going to get worse. Right now, the differential is $1.56 versus $1.20 for the sewer over the water rate. It's going to get much higher in the future. And that's the sad part about it, but we're doing everything we can to help the environment out, and what we're trying to do is stop in the future various things like dumping sewage into the British River. That's one of the things we're trying to address. The future costs will involve more things in trying to improve the system and trying to stop polluters and trying to stop other sources of water coming in that interfere with things. To answer the question about the summer rates versus any other time, We only have one method of billing, how much goes through a house, and that is through the water meter, what goes in, otherwise we'd have to meter what you put out. So it makes it very simple. We set the rates based on that to cover what your sewage amounts are. Other amounts go into the system right now. If we measured what was just coming out of your house, we would have to charge you an even higher rate than we do right now to pay for all those costs. So there would be no gain to that. You basically come out the same.
In other words, what you sprinkle your lawn with, if you have a pool and you fill your pool, we charge you the water going into the pool, but that gets splashed out on the grass is charged to you as well through the sewage fee. We don't meter what goes in the pipe out of your house, we only meter what comes in. And so people with sprinkler systems and swimming pools and other things of this sort have asked us before, but that would require us to install some 7,000 plus meters in the city that would measure what's going out of your house into the sanitary sewer. And for the sake of equal fairness and equalization, we only check what comes in.
But again, if we'd had the separate meters, you would pay more for the others. So rob Peter to pay Paul. The expenses are still the same.
Right.
So they're going to go up even if you cut down.
I didn't want to know either. I just figured that you use about the same amount of water all year long, except
the summer.
In the summer.
the summer, you know, so they would know. Look, this bill's $25 higher than last month, you know.
It used, as Mr. Rothfelder indicated, it used to be that the cost to process water and to dispose of sewage was about the same. But the cost now of sewage treatment has gone up faster than the cost of bringing the water into town because of the projects that are mandated by the federal government and the state government to clean up the Rouge River, to separate sewers, and so stormwater is in one sewer and sanitary sewage is in another one. And that's what's getting, as he said, that's what's driving up the sewage end of things.
Any further discussion?
Also, it's the, Detroit City Council approved the increase in water.
Yeah. That issue is being looked at by attorneys, and I'm sure if the lawsuits that's pending is successful, we would have to make adjustments later on. But this is what's facing us currently. Any other discussion? Hearing none, what's council's pleasure?
So moved.
Been moved? Supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item C, National League of Cities, 92-93 membership, $968.
So moved.
Moved, supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item D, approval of signatory changes on workers' compensations account. Can you fill us in on this one?
The workers' compensation account is controlled by our claims processor. We actually write the checks on the account and send those out for us, so they're sent out on a timely basis. It's the only account that we have that's run like that. It's an impressed account. We put in X number of dollars like a petty cash fund. When it's run down, we put in some more money, and we get copies of the checks all the time.
We monitor that on an ongoing basis?
On a daily basis, whenever the checks are sent through. And they may come in once a week, they may come in 3 times a week. The signers, the people that work for the company have changed. Some people have gotten promoted, some people have taken jobs elsewhere, and they've got new people in there. This company has done an excellent job for us in the past, and all we're doing is approving new signers, so they have flexibility on to make timely payments for us.
I'm familiar with ASU Risk Management, very good company. Joe Kosha is still...
He's still with them, he's gotten promoted, and he's in the sales end of the business.
Sales consultant. Very good. Anything further?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item E, Wayne Westland Library Board, recommendation to defer district library formation discussions.
So moved, the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Been moved, supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Phillips?
I'd like to point out to the folks in the audience that the City Council has called a meeting for the 26th. That would be a very interesting meeting for most of you to attend, or anybody in the community to attend, maybe it can be in the Associated Newspapers. We're going to have a rather, I assume, excellent report from our library consultant regarding the library needs of this town and so on. That would be certainly worthwhile for anybody interested in education and kids and the community might want to attend that. Thank you.
Time on that is 7:30. 7:30 next Tuesday. Okay, see file. F, discussion of letters urging purchase of vehicles assembled in the United States. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, and members of the council, we have attached for you in your packet, or included in your packet, a cover letter that came to the mayor and members of the council from Local 1776, the local that represents the Willow Run plant. Attached to the cover letter from the local is a sort of a standard letter or a form letter that was used by the local, and at the bottom of each one it was signed by a Wayne resident asking the city to consider purchasing Chevrolets made at the Willow Run plant as opposed to Crown Victorias that are made at Ford Motor Company at their plant in Ontario. We gave you a sample of that standard letter that they used, and then on pages 3 and 4 of your attachment is a list of the people that sent these letters to the mayor and the city council. We provided you with their name and their address. There were a couple of duplications. At one point I mentioned to you that it was about 61 names. Some of those turned out, when we reviewed them more carefully, that there were a couple of duplications in there. However, after I reported 61 names to you, we received a few more letters yet. So you have a rather lengthy and impressive list here of residents of this community. I wish you to consider this matter. Staff is ready to send a reply to them indicating that in the last time in which we bid for police cars in particular, we invited many providers or contractors or vendors to submit bids for us. The local Chevrolet dealer did not choose to bid. We only got 2 bids. Both were from Ford dealers. One was out of East Lansing, Campus Ford, and one was Jack Demmer Ford. As you know, the City Council approved the bid of Jack Demmer Ford. How many, roughly speaking, we send out about 24 requests, Tom, for bids on the police cars? It's about 24 dealers are requested?
I believe so, John. I don't have that list with me at the moment.
John, would you recall off the top of your head?
There were several. Mr. Gaddafi was the one that sent the bids out.
Yeah. Yes, I know it's in excess of 10, and I thought it was about 24. It's difficult to award a bid to a company or to a contractor that doesn't bid, but we are mindful of the serious nature of the Wayne residents' plight relative to their plant at Willow Run. It's a tough issue in that we have 3 large Ford plants in this city. However, there are people in this community that make their living working for General Motors as well.
Thank you. Mr. Demisham.
Yeah. I want to make a couple comments on this subject here. And I want to preface my statements by saying that I very strongly support the Buy American program. But I think it's ironic that we have an agreement since 1965 with Canada, agreement about automotives and having cars freely traded across the border. And since 1965, we've had like one economic entity in this country here that included Canada and the United States. And I think it's ironic that we're in this situation that we are right now, that we want to buy American, because we've had, over the years, since 1970s and the 1980s, unfair trade practices from particularly one country, Japan. I don't see why we should go out and punish a country that we've had a free trade agreement with and that has bought over 500,000 vehicles a year from the United States, because we're upset with Japan and what their economic policies have done to our country. I think if we're upset with Japan and what they've done to our country because of the unfair practices that they demonstrate and that they plan, I think they have a planned agenda to take away our economic base in the United States. I think we should know who we're at war with economically and go after them. And that's why I support a Buy American. But I think we should not turn our backs on the other countries that have supported us over the years, that being Canada. Now I see that we have from the local here, the Willow One local, a GM plant that was closed. And one major factor as far as in the closing of the GM plant is that they were going after the Mexican support, the Mexican worker down in Texas. I don't see how we can send a message to GM by this council saying the only product we're going to buy is a GM product and turn our backs on Ford. Ford has supported this city for many years and has been fair with the city. So I think we should be open to the free competition, and we should request bids on both the Ford, Crown Victoria, and the Chevy. And that we should know who we really have to go after and who's taking advantage of this country. And one country that is not doing it is Canada. So I urge the council to consider taking bids on both the Ford Crown Victoria and the Chevy.
Very good. Any other discussion? Any from the audience? Mr. Phillips.
In conversation with Congressman Ford's office, they're going to forward to our finance department. They have just reams of documents. We were discussing last week the notion of domestic content in automobiles, and they have just in motor vehicles, and they have tremendous amounts of research on that should be coming our way if this group chooses to have that as part of their bid specifications. So that should be on its way to you.
Okay.
Fairly soon.
Very good. We'll have the staff monitor that, and we're concerned, as everyone else is, on the coming plant closings for the effect of our citizens. We hope to work with them. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, would you like us to send, under your signature, a letter from the city indicating we've received their information and that we are studying the issue, or would you like just to merely receive and file this at this point? I had the impression that the council wished some kind of response back to these people. Yes, we want to respond.
Do you wish it now, or do you wish it in the future?
The staff draft the letter up, you know, the sentiments, and we'll review it. And
all right.
And send it out in the next couple of weeks.
All right.
Okay, without objection. Moving on. Item G, adoption of weed roll A.
So moved.
Moved.
Support.
Support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item H, traffic control orders 376 and 377 to reduce sight distance problems on Michigan Avenue West east of Sophia Street.
So move approval.
It's been moved. Support. Any discussion? John, could you briefly tell us what's going on here?
Basically, Mr. Mayor, the council, a citizen in that area, he lives down the street on Sophia Street at the 5 bus. Problems occur daily because of the curvature of Michigan Avenue and some parked cars. We feel, from a traffic engineering standpoint, to alleviate that danger, that this restriction, and we spoke with the business people in the area that would be affected, concurred with us that the liability issue is just too great not to take some action with the parking there now. So we recommend that we do this.
Very good. Moved and supported. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item I, traffic control order 378 to relieve parking congestion on Glenwood Road near Greenbush Street.
John, go ahead. This is part of the continuing issue of Glenwood and Greenbush.
Yes, sir. We went down there and met several of the residents. I got a chance to see firsthand the problems that they were incurring down there. We had a discussion and with Mrs. Trudeau and Mr. Bach and some other folks, and we feel that this may help alleviate the congestion. But I also note in my memo to Mr. Zeck, I think it's going to cause another problem, and that's going to be backloading the vehicles off of Glenwood onto Greenbush. So what I plan to do is this summer is have my staff poll the residents on Greenbush, see if they'd be interested in restricting parking on one side of their street as we do up in the area of the high school, to make sure that we have a solid lane open and we don't get some of the backup that we saw firsthand. Now that's even going to be more so once we restrict the parking in front of Mrs. Trudeau's residence and possibly the Cassiopo residence west of Greenbush. Hopefully this will alleviate the problem. And I really believe that when that lane is paved with the new curb cuts, it's going to alleviate a lot of the problems too, but we'll have to wait and see. That's why we would recommend that this traffic control order be initiated now.
So moved. It's been moved.
Support.
Support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, John. Item J, recommendation to approve revised split of Lot 61 W.C. Steers Edition.
So move approval. Support. With waiver of the fees.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item K, recommendation to call a public hearing for June 16th to rezone 2.862 acres on south side of Annapolis from heavy industry to light industry.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item L, recommendation to call a public hearing for June 16th to rezone 18.01 acres on the north side of Annapolis from heavy industry to light industry.
So moved.
Support. Supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item M, recommendation to call a public hearing for June 16th to rezone 1.38 acres on north side of Annapolis from heavy industry to light industry.
So moved.
Moved. Support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item N, recommendation from Public Service Director concerning Courier Street drainage problem.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, this was a problem brought to our attention and through a number of sources. Some of them went directly to the city council, chiefly Mr. Lamb to the mayor, and some of the residents on the street spoke also to members of the Public Services Department, to Mike Tino, Frank Boner, and myself. We have a situation out there on Courier Street that has been a chronic problem. When the street was installed some years ago, it was put in with very little pitch, or very little change in grade, and drainage system, and a proper drainage system was not considered part of the street. There are drains, however, they're at Howe Road and Carnegie Street, and Mr. Ramsey El-Garib can give this a lot more colorful explanation than I can, and I'll let him do that. But in short, what we'd like to do is propose to you that alternative number 3, which will cost us approximately $21,600 to be pursued, to alleviate that drainage problem for those residents. This will solve the problem on both the north and south side of Courier Street. They have been most patient with us, and we are in a position to do it this construction season. The bids on the Loppy subdivision paving were lower than anticipated, so we have a little extra money in the road millage program, and this is in our opinion, a first-class use of some of that money to alleviate this problem. Ramsey, would you give us a little bit more of the detail?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members. We surveyed the street and we found out that first of all there is no any relief system, the storm sewer system in the middle of the road, and the only drainage we have is on 2 corners of Carnegie Street and Howe Road. And after the surveyor got his data out of the office, we found out that the only fall on the street was about 5 inches and 650 feet. And the minimum requirement this time is about 5 inches and 100 feet. So the street is flat. And with time, the street settled. We're on the south side, midway along the gutter pan. So the water was seeping through the concrete pavement and was undermining the gravel subbase underneath. And that's why the street has settled like 2 to 3 inches, and we have the critical drainage problem there. We studied about 3 alternatives. One of them was overlay the street with asphalt, and that for a cost, I guess, about $20,000. However, that alternative is not permanent, and the condition of the pavement is in fair condition at this time. So we don't want to go ahead and asphalt it, and it is a concrete pavement. And the second thing is we have to resurface all the drive approaches to meet the new grade of the asphalt. And I don't think the residents would agree with that alternative. The second alternative was to install a new drainage system from Carnegie all the way to Howe Road. And the cost of that alternative was about $40,000 plus all the replacement of the drive approaches. And we think that's a lot of money. It's excessive money for a localized problem. The third alternative we studied was to intercept the water right at the low points where we have the problem, midway along the street on the north and south side, and transport the water in a sewer system which is about 12 inches in the berm area all the way to Carnegie Road, where we're gonna tap into the existing storm system on Carnegie Road, which is going north and south. And I believe that's the most cost-effective solution for this localized problem.
Very good. As you can see from the drawing, we're going to be going through the people's driveways and their lawns. We will replace the drives and repair the lawns that we disturbed, but we'll be removing the ponding that they're having even on dry days. When we were out there, there was already, even though it's not mosquito season yet, there was already the presence of mosquitoes forming in the pond. So we do believe this is the way to go to solve this issue.
Very good. Appreciate the staff's work on this. Thank you. Council pleasure?
So moved.
Been moved? Support. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item O, discussion of trees and sidewalk repair program.
At the last meeting, there were several residents here that raised issues, brought issues to the council about raised sidewalks as a result of trees and as a result of other problems. At the conclusion of the discussion, the council was asked to go forward with the sidewalk program, and that Mr. Magid, Mr. Boner, Mr. Al-Garib, and myself would meet with the people that had come here to talk about trees and other sidewalks that were a problem. We did go out last week and went to all of the homes of individuals that had given their name and address to Mr. Boner. We met with them, each one of them. I believe in the case of Mr. Raines, he was the only person that we were not able to meet with while he was at home, but we did go to his property. I know his son is here today to speak to us again. But I'm going to let Frank, if you would, go through the various cases, and we will discuss with you what we did in the field and why we've recommended the various recommendations to you about